and I noticed that there's quite a lot of demand for YKI courses that people are preparing for the exam. And, well, I tried not to do this too much in my free time. And of course, now I know a lot more about writing a textbook than I did before.
Hi, Mari. It's so nice to see you again. We are here gathering today to talk about your new book, YKIä Kohti, that is specifically created for the YKI test preparation. And before we start, for those who don't know you, would you like to share a little bit more about yourself and about your Finnish language teaching journey?
I'd love to. It's so nice to be here again talking to you, Lydia. I always enjoy talking to you so much. My Finnish language teaching journey. Okay, I'm gonna try not to be too long-winded about this, but so I started teaching in 2008. At that point, well, I had a few jobs where I substituted, but I where I really started teaching, I'd say, is in integration training for adults. So the course that many have been through, where when you're unemployed and you want to learn Finnish, or you need to learn Finnish, you attend this full-time program, and that's where I started teaching. Um, it was in 2008 that I started doing some substitute teaching, but my first integration training course was around 2009, I think. In 2010, I was responsible for one for the first time, and around that time, I also started teaching Uki. Um, so yeah, I've always been teaching in adult education. So sometimes when I say that I'm a teacher, people will ask me, "Oh, what age children do you teach?" And I'll say I don't actually teach children at all.
Have you tried teaching kids?
Ah, not seriously anyway. I've basically always known that what I want to do is adult education. I want to help adults learn languages that well, pretty soon I realized that I specifically wanted to teach Finnish, but I've always wanted to help adults learn languages because as we know, well, it's not that different from what children go through, but it is pretty
Mm.
different learning a language as a child or learning a language as an adult. It has its own challenges when you're an adult for sure. And
I
that's
can
where I've
relate to
always,
that. Yes, definitely. And you've
yeah,
mentioned the integration program.
yeah,
And every time I talk to foreigners who come here, I always tell them if you have this chance of dedicating 1 year to
yeah,
learning Finnish, there will never be such a similar chance in life.
yeah,
Like, I think, like ever, that
yeah.
you would have 1 whole year
Yeah, you
learning
are
the language.
paid to study a
Yes,
language. It's pretty
yeah.
awesome. I know that the quality of the courses can vary. I know that it's not perfect, but there are some really great schools and really great teachers around who can really make a difference to your language learning and integration training. So it's still something, still something that I still recommend, even though, as we know, the system isn't perfect.
You share a little bit more about this book that you have just published that's called YKIä Kohti?
Absolutely. So very happy to. So we have written myself, Larisa, Heikkinen, Maiju Ollilainen, and Jepa Viinanen. We've written a book for people specifically wanting to prepare for YKI. Of course, the exercises, we believe that the exercises are useful for anybody, but this is pretty focused on YKI preparation specifically. So the book is called YKIä Kohti, and it covers all the different aspects of studying for YKI. So you prepare for listening comprehension, reading comprehension, speaking, and writing. I think that was all of them.
Right, writing as well. How do you translate the name of it in English?
The name means towards YKI. So kohti is towards and YKI Kohti, you have everybody's favorite partitive is there.
Right. Coming back to your book, why did you decide to write it at all?
Well, since since teaching in integration training, a lot has gone on. I've taught at different schools, and then in 2017 I founded my own little language teaching business. I started with private lessons, and then pretty soon I wanted to start trying to do courses, and I noticed that there's quite a lot of demand for YKI courses that people are preparing for the exam and need and a lot of them want and need that extra support that having a specific YKI course can provide. So what I've wanted to do is I've wanted to find a way to help the most people possible prepare for YKI. And there's obviously a limit to how many people I can help through organizing language courses. So I wanted to find something that I could reach more people with. And then it actually wasn't, I actually never thought of a book, or I did think of the possibility of writing like my own ebook, like you have done with YKI Pass, which I think is absolutely awesome. But but what happened was that actually the publisher Finlektura approached me and asked if I would be interested in this type of project. And of course I jumped at the chance because it's really nice to have a proper traditional publisher behind me to help with all the distribution, with all of that. And of course, not having to do it alone. So we have a team of 4 teachers who have created the book. So that was also a nice change to working alone a lot of the time. It was really great to have this collaborative project for once.
We will talk a little bit more about the authors of the book, but coming back to the idea of having it at the beginning, um, aren't there some other books available on the market already?
There are,
So
and there are already good books available on the market, which I think is also great. This is a pretty different book. It's a much more comprehensive approach than what's available at the moment. So we go through the book includes listening comprehension, speaking, reading comprehension, and writing, as well as test strategies and learning strategies. So I'm I- I'm not sure. I may have missed it, but I don't think that we have, at least not a Finnish language textbook that helps you with how to effectively learn a language, how to spend your time the most efficiently possible to reach your goal as well as possible. So we've included a lot of these tips and strategies that you can use and that you can practice by using the book. And I think that's something that doesn't really exist at all, not for YKI, but in general, I don't think. Well, there are some, for example, Kynäkäteen for writing
mm,
does have learning strategies, that type of thing. So yeah, it's highly likely not the only book, but we wanted to make an YKI book that was more focused on supporting and directing the learner and the like pointing the learner in the right direction, if you will.
so it not only has the exercises, but also guides you and gives you tips on how to study.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, very good to know.
Yes.
For those who are just thinking about taking the YKI test,
Hmm.
there are 4 parts of it, like you mentioned, that you have
Yes.
all 4 in a book. I would like to talk a little bit more about that. So
Hmm.
there is reading, and reading is easy. There might be text,
Not
and
for
then
everybody, but
exercises.
for a lot. Yeah.
I mean, in terms of a book, it's
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
put texts and create exercises
Right,
for
right,
students.
right.
I understand that part. Speaking, there might be, as if I understand it correctly, there might be topics for expressing your opinion, which is the
Hmm.
biggest part of speaking, and then might be some dialogues where the
Yeah,
space is missing, right?
yeah, yeah. Exactly.
And two more parts that are a little bit challenging and hard to put in a book. So I wanted to learn how you did that for listening and writing. And why I'm asking that, especially for writing, you can give topics to write,
Hmm.
but you cannot check the texts in a book. So how do you approach this? And regarding the listening part, how is the
Hmm.
listening part happening?
Yeah, I think I could share my screen and I could show you in here. First of all, so everything is in Finnish. So to use the book, you do need to have some Finnish. And of course, when you're studying, you can use translating tools and all that to make sure that you understand the instructions and the tips, etc. But it's written in simple Finnish in the way that if you are at like the late stages of A2, you should be able to understand quite a bit of the book without using any other tools. And so it has 9 chapters, and in each chapter represents one YKI theme. So YKI has 9 themes altogether. So the first one here is me and my background. Then there's koti ja asuminen, so home and living. So you can translate that as you. I don't know what the best way to translate that would be,
Yeah,
but
living.
yeah, home and living, yeah, I guess.
Mhm.
Then each chapter is divided into 5 subsections. So we have the 4 different parts, starting with reading, then writing, then listening, and then speaking. And then we have always have a small chapter called Valmistaudu testiin, get
Mhm.
ready for the test, which has tips for studying for the test. And then by towards the end of the book, more tips on for the test day itself. So just really practical things, not as comprehensively as you do in Uki Pass, but some of the most important things that we felt were important to include. Um, so the book also has the structure of the test, all of that. Um, so yeah, I guess as you said, the reading comprehension is pretty straightforward in the sense that you can easily imagine how a textbook would help with that. Um, so we have these warm-up exercises that help you with vocabulary, that type of thing. And then we have lots of reading and answering questions about it. And the answers to the questions are obviously, well, not obviously, but you
Not
can find the
obviously,
answers.
it was a
Exactly, not
surprise
every
for me.
textbook does. That's
Yeah.
true. The answers to the exercises are at the back of the book, so you can immediately check your work. Then for writing, um, we so here we go a lot more into it's not just topics. We go a lot more into the strategies that you need for writing. So, for example, here we have tekstin suunnittelu on tärkeä osa kirjoittamista. And here we go through how to plan your writing. So not everybody, if you're a good writer, it may feel obvious that you have to plan your writing, but not necessarily. And because usually we're writing on a computer, we can just start typing and then the whole process is really different. But in Uki, we're writing with a pencil on paper, so we need to plan the thing out first. We can't really go back and copy paste and add like we can on a computer. So we learn those strategies that you like traditional text writing strategies that not aren't necessarily something that people today need in their everyday lives, though I would say as somebody who is absolutely I absolutely do think that they are useful skills to anybody in real life as well. So here, for example, we have a warm-up exercise where we uh, practice making your first draft of your writing. And then there's a little exercise for you to do with a pair, so with a friend, where you're instructed to read what you just wrote and then discuss it, give each other feedback. And then we
I
look
can
at
here ask a question already. So you don't need a
absolutely.
teacher. You can just
No.
take this book and alone or with a friend go
Yep.
through it.
Exactly. It's always nice to have somebody to practice with, but we've been thinking of the person doing self-study. So you can buy it or get it out of the library and you can study it without a teacher, without anybody anybody there, or you can have a little study group, or if you're a teacher, you can use it in your courses. You can also find a teacher and go through it with a teacher. Of course, as a teacher, I'd say that this is often even more efficient, but we've definitely been thinking of the person who isn't attending any courses, who isn't able to rely on a teacher to help them. And we've wanted to fill this gap in a little bit where people don't always have the opportunity to attend courses as well. So here for writing, we have uh, an exercise where you get to know the style of a more formal message and then you practice. There's step-by-step instructions. So here there's a formal message that you read and then you write your own using that as a model with the instructions. And then there are lots of little uki topics. So this little icon here, this little
Superman.
super person, is it always signals some exercises that are like in the Uki test itself. So these are like Uki style topics so that you can practice with a variety of Uki style topics before you do the test itself. For listening comprehension, it's actually pretty similar to reading, but it's audio material that you listen to. So the recording of the book is unfortunately not out yet. It's coming up in May. So for the moment, you can't yet try these or practice these because the audio material isn't available yet. The publisher has wanted to make the book available as quickly as possible. So this is why we have a 2-month gap where we have a book, but we don't have the audio materials, which is a little bit annoying.
Where will the audio be available? Because in former times there would be a CD disc, but how does it
Yes,
work now?
yeah, I don't think we even have a CD. Uh, there are the main option, the option that I recommend for students is to download the app Otso. So the publisher Finlektura uses an app called Otso to share their audio material, and all of the audio material will be available in Otso. The way it works is that you have the book, and then you have your app and you use your camera to scan the page and it gives you the audio for that page that you're on. So the app audio is included in the book. Then if somebody wants to also own the audio in another format, you can also buy it. I think it's MP3, the format
Mm-hmm.
that it's sold in. So if you want to own the files themselves, that's also possible for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there's a CD coming up, but not 100% sure. Our publisher has tended to still make CDs for even newer materials, but I'm under the impression that there's no CD coming up this time. So yeah, for listening comprehension, we go through as with writing where there were topics and with reading, um, there are these Uki style exercises where you listen and you answer questions, multiple choice, uh, correct or false, and then these open-ended questions where you yourself have to write the answer. And the answers again are available at the back of the book. But then we also have warm-up exercises, which often include little important vocabulary, important phrases to understand, um, but also strategies. So here in exercise 2, for example, here our little icon is there. They're running. Um, so here we go through step by step uh, how to and including some like we're always, well, in this particular exercise, we are just familiarizing ourselves with the task type, with what do we do with these correct and false style exercises. So if you're familiar with these already, it's going to be pretty obvious. But then there are things like hearing the key words of whatever you're hearing, what to pay attention to during the test, how the test is structured, how to get the most out of what you're listening to, basically. And of course, you're at the same time you're learning important vocabulary and all of that, all of that. For speaking, so for speaking also we have warm-up exercises. Again, like with listening, there's the audio for the speaking part is super important as well. So for example, here you'll be hearing some opinion phrases and your task is to write them down, check your answers, and then you practice pronouncing them. And then there's a warm-up exercise, a little discussion to be had with a friend. And then again, we dive step by step into how to make a good opinion answer, how to do the YKI speaking opinion task and how to do it well. So what we do is we build it step by step. In some exercises, there are sample answers that you can use. In some exercises, it's more just about strategy, how to structure your answer, this type of thing. And then there are tips like here, apukysymykset, so the auxiliary questions that you'll find in an YKI style
Mm-hmm.
speaking task. So here you have the theme, suomalainen musiikki, outoa vai upeaa, Finnish music, weird or awesome,
Awesome. Yeah.
something like that. You have a bunch of questions, and so here in the tip, we talk a little bit about how to use them as effectively as possible, and what you need to, how many of them, and yeah, and how to show your best language skills in the test situation. So yeah, this
It
is the
looks
type of thing.
amazing. It's very clean and clear. I love it a lot.
I'm very happy to hear that. I'm still kind of in this constant, slightly nervous state going, okay, I hope it works. I mean, we've tested all the tasks and all of that, but still, it's one thing letting a book out into the world where I can't do anything about if people understand how to use it and all of that, we can try our best and then hope that it works. And I think it does. I'm pretty proud of what we've done, but it's always a bit nerve-wracking to publish something new. These, by the way, are the free sample pages. So on the Finlectura website, you can download these for yourself before you purchase the book, and you can try the exercises in practice. So you don't have to make if you're interested in buying the book or getting it out of the library, you also have this option of looking at some sample pages beforehand so
It's
that you
great. We will include the link here as well, so people can go and check it out.
absolutely let
It's
me.
wonderful. So you've mentioned that it can be varattu, how to say it, from a library, taken
Yeah,
from a
yeah,
library.
yeah,
But you can also buy it. So where
yeah,
from one can
yeah.
buy it?
Well, bookshops all over Finland should carry it.
Suomalainen
So
kirjakauppa, for
suomalainen
example.
kirjakauppa, akateeminen kirjakauppa, for example, then online bookshops as well, like you have the Finnish option Bookie, and then there's Adlibris. All of those
Mm-hmm.
should carry it, but if you would like to buy it online, I think from what I've seen at least, I think the publisher itself, the publisher's online store is one good place to get it. Um, so
And the price is here.
it's yeah, here it's 40 euros including that.
What
So
does
you can just
36 mean here?
it's the VAT
Without VAT.
VAT free price. So the price that the tax-free price, basically.
So can one
So no,
buy it without tax?
I think if you are in a country, I think there's a system for
Oh,
tax-free purchases, but I'm not very familiar with how that happens in practice.
that's very
But
interesting because they give you the option
yeah,
without
yeah,
VAT.
yeah, I think they're also, it's also there just for if you have a company, there's a process for deducting the tax afterwards. So I think that's also one reason why they include it. But yeah, for just if you're just in Finland and you're buying the book, that it's going to be 40 euros with all the taxes included. But yeah, there might be some kind of way to do a tax-free purchase, but I'm not very familiar with how that process works in practice. But yeah, this is
Right.
one option, and from what
Um,
I've seen, it's a little bit less expensive on the publisher's website than in other places. So
bookshops. So you are one of authors of this book. Could you share more about other authors and about what they do?
yes, of course. So Jepa Viinanen is our first. Let me start
You can
again.
start again. Yeah.
Yeah. So Jepa Viinanen is one of the other authors. She currently works at Aalto University, where I also teach. I teach at Aalto Open University as well as in my own company, Ask a Finnish Teacher. And Jepa is specialized in teaching writing. So she's really an expert on um, she's very good at writing and she's very good at teaching how to efficiently write, how to get yourself going, it can often be difficult with that blank page, especially in a test setting. So Jepa is really specialized on helping people get words on the page. Then we have Maiju Ollilainen, who, like me, is has her own small teaching business called Ihana Suomi, and Maiju currently teaches a lot of. She does a lot of she does Finnish courses at companies, and and Maiju is specialized in making everything really clear and as simple as possible. And without her, we would have a much messier book overall. Then Larisa, who teaches at Helsingin Maalari-ammattikoulu at the moment, is well, she's first of all, Larisa is has learned Finnish herself, so it's her second language, and
Feels like
she
Russian being the first.
yes,
Yeah.
Larisa is from Russia, yes, and so she brings this learner perspective of somebody who is a Finnish teacher who has gotten her Finnish to that C2, really strong C2 level, and who is able to really master the language. She brings that perspective. And also, she was extremely good at finding interesting things for the listening comprehension and reading comprehension exercises. So most of what's in there is authentic. So we've made some stuff up as well. Sometimes we've modified things, but a lot of it is authentic texts, just like you'll find in the YKI test itself.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll be some actual news or what you'll listen to will be an actual podcast interview, not a play podcast
Mm.
interview that we've made up. So that's a lot of that is thanks to Larisa. She was great at spotting interesting things to listen to. We think that's pretty important that things are as that it's not too boring because it can get pretty boring.
Right.
So we've
There are
tried to make it as interesting and joyful as possible as well. Yeah, of course, we all have experience in teaching Uki from different parts of our careers. I'm maybe uh, at the moment, when we started working on the book, it was me and Larisa who were actively teaching Uki at that moment. But Jepa and Maiju also have quite a lot of Uki experience behind them, of course.
How did you divide the work? Because when you work in a team, of course, not conflicts, but some kind of difficult situation might occur. So how did you deal with that?
Well, of course, any team effort is always full of compromises, but then, of course, if I had written the book alone, it wouldn't be half as good. It wouldn't have all this expertise there. We had it we decided on like areas of responsibility. So I'm more specialized in listening comprehension and speaking. And so I was mainly in charge of those chapters. Jepa, of course, was in charge of the writing chapters. And then Maiju and Larisa um, were doing were mainly focused on the reading comprehension. However, we all did everything. So everything that we've done is approved by the whole team and everything. Well, for the listening comprehension, for example, a lot of what you listen to is was found by Larisa, even though I was the one that was like who was like in charge of it. It doesn't mean that I did the whole thing on on my own. So it was more of like a who is who is in charge of what. Yeah.
How long did it take to write it?
It took 2 years and 3 months altogether from beginning to the end of the
That's a
project.
lot of time.
Yeah, yeah, of course, we weren't working on the book full time. We all have our day jobs, and this was a more of a, well, well, I tried not to do this too much in my free time. I tried as much as possible to combine it with my with my teaching work, but still it was still on top of what we do every day. So it was we were able to put in a varying number of hours a week. So it's not like we were only only doing
Writing.
this for 2 years and 3 months, but like that's how long the process took with our other responsibilities.
When it's now finally done and
Yes.
you think about the past, is there something that was the biggest learning for you?
Well, that writing a textbook is harder than I thought that it would be. I'm not sure. Well, I would say yes again, but there were stages where I thought, oh, phew, why did I agree to this? If only I had known. And of course, now I know a lot more about writing a textbook than I did before. I have to say, I regret that in the past I may have been pretty rough on some of my colleagues who have also written textbooks. I didn't realize what a vulnerable and big process it is. So that's one thing that I've definitely learned, and I've learned a lot from my colleagues. I've learned a lot about about the different aspects of language teaching from Jepa, Maiju, and Larisa. So that has been a really great learning experience for me personally in that way.
Now, when the book is out, have you received any feedback already?
I have. It's been overwhelmingly positive so far, which I'm very happy about. Of course, always being a little bit of a pessimist. I'm like, um, that maybe they're only telling me the good parts, but so far people have it looks like the book is doing what we had hoped that it would do, make it easier to prepare for Uki in the future so that you're not completely lost. I think together with your book, Uki Pass, I think it's a pretty good pairing, Uki Pass and YKIä Kohti, uh, when you have your explanations in English and then we have a textbook like this in Finnish. I think that it can make help you feel a lot, help students feel a lot more confident going in and hopefully getting that pass much more efficiently, much more quickly.
Right. Maybe a final question. Why did you decide to write it in Finnish? Some people might wonder.
Because not everybody speaks English.
English.
We we have a lot of students. Well, at the moment, I primarily teach students who speak English as either their first or second language, and we use English as a platform language, if you will. But there are lots of speakers of Finnish who don't speak English. So we wanted to make a book that's as accessible as possible for everybody. So we opted for easy Finnish.
Thank you for this wonderful conversation. I hope this book will be useful for many, and like what you showed me already looked fantastic.
Thank you. That's so nice to hear, and it was such a pleasure to be here and to get to talk about our book.